Having the guests sit
This is
there.
really cute.
Right here, there.
Yeah, my son over here. Oh, this is
And then when they come.
the uniform.
we'll use
Oh,
the
okay.
same front, So.
Right, that's what I think.
Relative to close to that.
So was it to be for the drag show?
Oh, the drag show. Drag show?
Huh?
When is it?
April 30th.
April 30th?
No, March 30th.
March
Okay.
30th.
Ask me at the end of the morning.
That's when I went on vacation.
That's just
FaceTime us.
the iceberg.
Huh?
FaceTime us from your vacation.
Well, I'm not going anywhere. It's a staycation. Yeah, I told you, my child will take me.
We'll just come up for that.
Everything
I know, I might, huh?
Dress like a student.
Just like
your
a student, my hoodie. Okay.
Last week I told Dr. So.
No, and I said, don't say that. Don't say things like that.
Stephen is.
Gary, I want to go to, I keep telling you I want to go and then.
All righty, everybody. It's 3:30. We're gonna begin our general meeting for Monday, March 9th, 2026. I'll begin with housekeeping and we'll do an attendance. We'll start all the way from Rowan all the way down.
He's present.
Dalton Donald. Ron Schroeder present.
Guy Childress present.
Patrick Cervera, present.
Ethan Allison present.
Juan Moreno, present.
Present. Emma Fox present. Cynthia Gallardo present.
Matthew Rathbun, present. Online.
William Coates present.
I do see Faye, your mic is not on, just in case. If not, Faye is in attendance online. Move Zoom. Yes, thank you so much, Faye. We move forward. Do I have a volunteer for the reading of the mission statement? Sky?
To support the evolving needs of the MSU Denver students by advocating in their best interests to enhance the university experience and opportunities.
Thank you so much. Begin for, do I have a motion for the approval of the agenda as seen here before you all? Got it.
A little bit of discussion on the agenda. Just FYI, I wanted to make sure everyone knows, I didn't send out the meeting agenda until this morning at 11 a.m. That was just my mistake. I forgot to give final word to our EA that it was ready to go. All of the things that are linked on the agenda and you have in your packet today were linked on the agenda request form. So I just wanted to make sure that if someone has an objection, anything on the agenda today, they let us know while we're considering it now. Just FYI, that's my mess up.
Susanna?
I'm no objection on the agenda, just to update this, because it still says I'm still part of the student equity project. Oh, and Matt was the update, like the UTAC.
I gotta add you.
Is that just to the?
Yeah.
Back here?
Yes.
Is there anything regarding the current agenda that we have? Any additions, changes?
So is the funding requests, are we still going to be doing the meetings for those? Or this all confirmed going to happen?
These are right now, it's gonna be for discussion. I believe we're gonna be reviewing the documents that were provided to us, and then we'll go into discussion with the budget committee.
I'll motion to approve.
Do I hear a second? Second. All right, motion for approval agenda. Is there any no's?
Opposition.
Okay, is there any abstentions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you all. All right, we'll move forward for the public comments. Since we do have a public, they're not required to say anything, but this is an opportunity for any individual to speak up. No, we can. Good, all righty. Move forward with an individual doesn't come in for public comment during this period until 3:47. We will give them their 5 minutes allocated. We'll move forward with section 3 on old business. We'll begin with goal tracker with William Coates as our lead on that. Give it away, Mr. Coates, please.
Thank you, Chair. So I know I brought this up last meeting, but unfortunately, there was, you know, I was kind of hoping Emma might be able to chime in on that and like what progress or what we wanted to do with that goal tracker as a whole.
Hmm.
Because I don't want to let the goal tracker go. I think it's a good idea.
Right. Okay, open the floor for discussion then, I guess.
I guess I was called upon. I was summoned. I missed, we were gonna do them at the end of the month, and I missed the last one because I was really sick. I wasn't really prepared to anything for today, to be honest. My bad. I think over the next week, if we're wanting to continue stuff, I can work on maybe like getting that kind of like rough draft up with some like ideas. But I don't have anything today.
Scott?
I think as we're approaching, the end of March, I guess that's sort of the next time I expect to bring that up. I would really wanted to see it be less of a goal tracker at this point and more of like a reviewing over what we have done and what we have left to do. Which I know kind of is what a tracker is, but like just because of the fact that we're so far in, just like really focusing on like what have we done this year, what have we done to meet our goals, and then what's this final stretch look like.
Emma?
I guess as a response to that, I can update it with some of the stuff we've done. I'm just not gonna know everything, so I think the goal is by our end of meeting month, or I guess my goal for me is to put in some of the stuff that I know has happened, and put in some of the stuff I know we're working on. But then when we review it, we can just talk about like realistic deadlines and if you have stuff, because I don't know what's going on in everybody's committees and everybody's brains.
So I'm putting myself in the queue here. So since we have, some time allocated for this as a discussion, this could be an opportunity for individuals to speak up. Maybe our chairs during the updates can speak up to things that have been done during February or March. That way you can use that information from this meeting, whether it be right now or in the meeting minutes, to kind of write down the tracker. Would that be better?
Yeah, I mean, if we have time or if people feel.
As a temperature check, how would the standing committee's chairs feel about that?
$5 minutes.
5 minutes, you can say boom, boom, boom. Is there any hands
I mean, 5 total.
for chairs? And the chair, committee chairs?
I think for PR, we've been planning a lot and probably like looking at those minutes in the OneDrive could probably give you an idea. I can't really list out everything that we have done so far since the beginning of January, because we kind of do a lot, honestly. We just been planning La Casa de Paz, like the biggest major event that we've been kind of working on, and working on guideline procedures and can't think of anything else. I could send you a list by next week.
If you feel it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I certainly can't go over everything right this very moment either, but what I would ask you to do is if that spreadsheet already exists, I just need to find it again. And if you just send it to me, I'll go in and add things too. That the standing committee's done and worked on, or I've just done and worked on, and try to get it updated from now on too.
If you want to just, I think the sheet itself is a little old, and I'll like refresh some stuff and I'll think about some ideas. But if you want to just send me like kind of like a list, then I can start like plugging and putting and getting creative.
Whenever you have that, just send it over to me and I'll send you some stuff too.
Cool.
Maybe as for vice chair budget committee, I can also see, but we can then send in the approvals that we have after today as well.
Cool.
We can have some list of things. All right, is there any more, Matthew?
My understanding of this goal tracking sheet, though, is also more expansive than just standing committees. So any of those working on some level of project, like I know for myself, was even brought up a little bit ago, like I'm with the Period Equity Project, so I think some of that should be in there. So if you're on some panel or something that has some aspect of like project to it, like that would also be helpful, because then also help us with our transition documents later.
Well, just to kind of wrap up this discussion then, for anybody that has meaningful updates or things that they really want the council to remind or to be aware of, add into that goals tracker sheet. Emma might be able to say where that is exactly. It's an accountability, correct?
It's not an accountability. It's under like when you go to our like general, then it's just under like our like Stephen created like a goals thing and it had like our draft of what we start, just like our Word document of whatever we talked about it like back in July. And then it's just like a secondary document under there. Right now it's divided up by the goals that we set for ourselves at the beginning of the year so that we can remember those like really, really big overarching goals and isn't broken down by committee. Then I was just kind of breaking up things into like where they roughly fit in there. It doesn't have to be like perfect. But just as you're working on something, and then I'm gonna get in there and like make it fancy, I guess.
All right. Just for everyone's just put their updates in there. Moving forward for business, I'll go for item B for funding request approvals without the usual presentation, waiving the 1,500 max presented by Sky Childress. Please take it away.
Yeah, I can start. So I'm a member of the budget committee and I saw these three presentations and I think based on the lack of funding options available to these organizations that we should just approve these. We should not make them schedule a meeting with TSAC to present. And I think that we should approve them today. I want to defer to the budget leadership for how they want to proceed to do that in this meeting today, if that's something we want to do. But I have it on here for us to at least consider.
Thank you. Marie, would you like to have some thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to add that I wasn't present on Wednesday, so I will let the budget members who were currently present on Wednesday take over this.
Sky, you.
Yeah.
Okay, so for that one, for me personally, this is something we ran through last year. Likewise, underneath the guidelines for this, they would have to come and present at a SGT-SAC meeting, not specifically general meeting. I'd like to ask accountability if that's something that we have to take in consideration before moving forward this discussion.
I would have liked that before this meeting, to be honest. Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so for the guideline underneath guidelines 9.2 for funding requests, for individuals to have approved funding, they must present in an SGT-SAC meeting for approval. Now, as of lately, we've been doing the general meetings where all members are included, but given the situations right now, we would like to expedite to how we were doing last semester or last year to simply approve them currently, present the spreadsheets and have the council approve or disapprove. Would we have to do like amendment, motion?
Well, in what aspect are we trying to suspend the rules?
Okay.
I didn't specifically add a rule suspension on here, but essentially in the budget guidelines and procedures, it states that student organizations come to TSAC and present. And I'm asking for us not to have that happen for these three requests. And also I want to, for two of them, give them more than $1,500. This comes because they would be able to request that full amount and probably a lot quicker from the campus event fund if it was still open. And like, for example, ARC's event is happening, I think in like 2.5 weeks or something. I really don't want to try to get them in here next Monday and then really have a rush of like them trying to make those purchases and stuff. So I think just for the circumstances we find ourselves in, I don't think that our guidelines and procedures in our student organizations sort of funding side of things really fit the needs currently. And I think we should adapt to the best interest and support the evolving needs of the MSU Denver students.
You're in that tagline?
That's right.
But yes, so at 9.3, that's where it states, we don't necessarily have that explicitly written down as a general meeting. So I don't see like see the potential that we have to vote to suspend or anything like that.
Why are we waiving the max max budget amount?
We haven't done that yet. I guess I propose we waive the max budget amount. Because I think that Sci-Chi and ARCS events are worth spending a little bit more than that. And I think that the typical time that student organizations are coming to us is after they've already spent the $3,800 from CMEI. And after the individuals have exhausted student travel or any other funding options they have available, and then they come to us for an additional possibly $1,500. At this moment, they haven't been able to do that. They have had less funding than prior years that their organizations have had. So I think we should not restrict it to 1,500 for these requests specifically.
Emma?
And I'm sorry, I think I missed this. Did the budget committee already kind of vote on these in their previous meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, I can say that in our most recent meeting, we passed this on to TSEC. So in the process, we go to TSEC. The next step in that process would be for them to either come to present to us and then we vote to approve, or if we're not doing that, then just for us to vote to approve. There's essentially two things here. There's waiving the usual, presentation if that's a rule that we need to waive, and there is the 1,500 amount that if we decide to do that, we would, I don't know if you want a waiver. I guess I ask accountability. Do you guys think that it's in order for us to approve these at this moment without some sort of suspension of rules or waiver, or do you think that we could just motion to approve these, no problem?
I think the approval side of it, I think we're okay, but there would still be a suspension of the rules if we are gonna supersede the max of the 1,500.
Yeah, that is true. However, the max 1,500 that we have, that's for travel specific.
It still comes to.
So it would have to be we only have one travel that succeeds over. As you know, we don't have any that goes over that 1,500 cap travel. As far as for events, there's an explicit cap that we have. It is the cap that we have of 1,500 is mentioned in 9.3.1 for travel criteria, which says max funding per event is 1,500.
So max for one event is $1,500.
Under travel criteria.
What about for events?
There's nothing. Under those section, there isn't anything explicitly said. The explicit mention 1,500 cap is only under 9.3 for budget allocations, member and leadership development funds, and travel criteria. Okay. Maybe we can put this up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Have we ever exceeded the 1,500 cap before with other criteria of what you're mentioning?
In my experience, we have not.
Scott.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either. I will say I don't think KIP is a bit funding, so we're out of money either. But
Not like this.
not like this.
Not like.
Dalton?
Seems like maybe we should take a precautionary vote to certify it just in case. And that would provide a legitimacy to raising the amount.
Scott?
Small bit of additional context. Item C on old business is a resolution to reconsider our budget that would wipe out the rest of this fund. So there won't be any more, if both these things pass, there won't be any more applications to TSAC or student organization funding for it, we think, to be unfair. Just another thing to consider.
Since this come up in item C, I met with Sky a couple days ago on elections funding. And, there were some items that I had forgotten. And if possible, I would like to keep the budget of the elections as it is. Yeah, we discussed that the elections had just started. And then it is also Steven and I, so yeah, some things are gonna fall through the cracks. So that's all, just as we speak of item C, that's what I have to say on my end of it. And then I think Steven.
Steven, as far as for the item B, is it
This is related. This is more of a question for both Patrick and Irvi as budget co-chairs. I'm looking at your guidelines and procedures in SharePoint right now. Have these been approved and vetted appropriately, or is this still a draft?
Though currently that we have in the teams, that is what was approved during Mike's like second term. So these haven't been changed. We have been editing on our, outside of business,
Okay.
but we haven't like anything official.
Okay.
As is, that is what has been voted on by the council. Scott?
Okay, I question to Matt, and I'm sorry I didn't send you a direct message and ask you about this constitutional question. I apologize, ahead of time. But do you think that we need to have some sort of rule suspension if we want to consider, going above 1,500 or accepting these today at all? That's my question to you.
Potentially, because as I'm reading here for student travel, student organizations must not exceed the maximum amount of funding available as determined by the budget committee for the academic year. I don't believe that was ever done. So we never set a max to begin with. So that's also, it's like,
We basically got blank check. Yeah, Scott?
Okay, so
9.1.
So based on that, Matt, do you think that we've, as the budget committee, have enforced a $1,500 limit so far? Do you think that but we haven't officially set one, and so you don't think that TSAC at this moment is bound to abide by that, or do you think the opposite?
Yes, I was more first off going with that would seem problematic to begin with, but I'm trying to figure out where it goes from there.
Okay. I think there's lots of business to discuss today on the agenda that's very important, and I think this technical difference isn't as important to me. So for that reason, regardless if we even need to, I motion that we suspend any such rule that requires us to approve less than 1,500 today for Psych-Hi and for ARC.
I second that.
And that would need to pass by 2/3 if it does pass.
Okay, I'm gonna open the floor for discussion. Seeing as there's no discussion, we move forward. Voting. Is there any opposition? One. Okay, is there any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Yeah, you're right about that.
Okay, that passes.
Three
Got none.
objections, no abstention,
That was.
8.
Is there anything for online? I'm assuming since I ain't seen no hand up.
We sort of,
That one raised their hand.
we default to yes if you don't have any questions. So 8 yeses, no abstentions, so passes to a 2/3 majority. Okay,
What is it? Could you, all that, Scott?
yes, and that passes with 2/3 majority, with three in opposition, 8 in favor, and none abstaining.
Moving forward, then. Actually, you have a motion, Scott? Yeah,
Okay, yeah, so Pi Sigma Epsilon. I really love us to approve this today. I don't think we should call them for a what do you call it? Presentation, and I wanted to, open discussion and talk about that.
Likewise. Sure. Do we, Matthew?
Do we have nothing to share with the council for any of these presentations?
Actually, we do.
They're linked on there. The agenda.
That is, can we go for the Pi Sigma Epsilon? I got you right now.
It's item I under, no, one more up. Right, there you go.
All right, if you can go all the way down to the spreadsheet on Pi Sigma Epsilon. Given that we do have a member here who cannot vote either way, I would like to just, if you could give us a brief rundown.
Oh, yes. So Pi Sigma Epsilon is a marketing and finance chapter. that is here at MSU. We've been around for a while, and right now our organization is as big as it's ever been. There is the reason why they are coming through to do raising money is that there's a national event that has to do with marketing, finance, and public speaking. The events for nationals, so there's a $500 registry fee for every single person, on top of a fee to get everyone flight fees as well as stay fees. The total cost for the event is about $21,000. In total, we have actually raised quite a substantial amount of money. For example, we have scholarships we've all entered, and we even won a good amount of them to help raise money for this event. We've done several fundraisings. In fact, the number on there just got recently updated because we had more people donate to our cause today to help raise money so we can get all 19 students to this national event. The reason why we want to go to nationals, not only just networking, because there's be big businesses all over the country going to be there. Some of them are actually representing our school, like Oracle and even Lockheed is going to be there as well. So it's important for that. One is we put on our resumes. It looks really good when you have national competitor in there. That's another big reason why we're going to be going. Not everyone can go, and you have to be qualified through the regional events, which we were qualified. So that is the general rundown of what this organization is all about, how much money it costs, and the money that we are raising for this event. Right now, if we get everything funded, including $1,500, we went down from outside for it. So right now, without the school funding at all from travel and student gov, we're looking at like $370 per person. But if this gets approved, it will bring it down all the way down to $170 per person. It will be a lot more affordable for a lot of our students because we'll have some food and even some travel that we'll still have to pay for. That's separate from that $170 per person.
Thank you so much, Nate. And as seen on the screen right now, the 1,500, the budget committee actually had Pi Sigma Epsilon come twice, as we didn't necessarily have the exact amount. They had the amount, but we didn't know where our funds would be used. But as you can see now, the description that they have is the funds will be used and a partial amount of the registration fee, which is, like I think it's mentioned earlier, it's like $6,000. So I used that $1,500 from us to pay for the registration fees. Is there any questions? Okay. Is there any motions to approve this?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second to it? Is there any opposition to the approval of Pi Sigma Epsilon budget request? Okay, is there any abstentions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. All right, moving forward with item B, Saikai for the presentation. Scott.
I'm not in Saikai, but I was there for the presentation. This is their annual induction ceremony, which is where they welcome their new members. For context, Saikai is one of the largest organizations we have on campus, and they're going to, I think it's 40, something, a large number of members for our student organizations into their organization. They were hoping to save their campus event funding requests for this event, and it specifically impacted them to where they could not. So they did a bunch of fundraising this year for all of their events, where they did not use campus event funding. And instead, they used their own money that they fundraised with bake sales and different fundraisers. And because they don't have the opportunity to apply for funding through campus event funds, they came to us since they've exhausted that. And that's the reason this one's the 1,800. The higher amount is because they were expecting to be able to apply up to 2,000 for this event. They did cut some things out of their programming and trim down there then also because they wanted to sort of accommodate getting a lot closer to that $1,500 amount. Is there any questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious, like, what do they do?
Actually, Stephanie.
As a member of Saikai, yeah, I can answer your question, Dalton, first. We are an honor society, so there's a mix of events that establish, sense of community and also, events of professional development. So the workshops and stuff like that. Our main thing, we do research. And some of our SciCan members, they are able to present to our MPA, the regional research conference that this year's happening in Idaho, I think, or Utah, I don't remember. But yeah, and also to give some context to people, that SciCai usually has fundraisers just to, stay afloat, but usually their main, like, what they use mostly, like their budget is for induction. Because usually it's like $30,000 induction itself. So SciCai usually saves most of the money for this event. So as you can imagine, CMEI running out of funds has affected SciCai by a lot. And this is, as you can see in the spreadsheet, they have truly try to bring that cost down, almost less than half. And we are inducting 40 new members. So, there's like traditions like buying candle and, we have food and this and that, right? So there's some.
Thank you so much, Steph. So is this event like almost like a party?
It's more of a celebration for new, because this is an honor society, right? You need to have a certain GPA, certain MSU credits here. And so this ceremony is to welcome new people into this honor society. So I wouldn't say a party, because it's really like more a celebration for new people coming in. And then also a celebration for seniors that are graduating this semester as well. So they'll get their stoles as well.
I'll add myself too.
We're just, about 4 minutes out from the end of old business. So I wanted to motion to approve up to $1,800 for SciCai.
Second for the motion. I'm open for discussion. Matthew?
Just throw it, I still have concerns about us still just suspending the rules on so many different things. But that's about all I got.
Susanna?
I think I have to agree with Matt too, because I feel like 1,500 is pretty fair enough for any student organization, and if we want to keep on going and giving out funding for more student organizations, I think our max cap should be 1,500.
Okay. All right. We
I don't
can, yeah,
I don't know. I was just gonna say, I think it is worth considering that event funding just ran out of money. So it's like, this would be all out of pocket. Anything we don't fund is out of pocket, which sucks. I don't know.
yeah. And just from my position on this, just reiterating, usually this kind of fund would be asked through CMEI. As student organization, that's where the funds will be. Now, given as that there is no funds, and that's really what item C is really going to be concerned about. If maybe we're considering we have a decision of capping it at 1,500 right now for all, even when we give the funds to CMEI, or we can continue to finalize this one as it's already cut significantly from the usual order that they do in order to fund this. And then after this, we could either put in the restriction of the cap 1,500. And if we do put that 1,500 cap, then I think it would be fair that we do the same for all. How does the council feel with that? Scott?
I just also wanted to speak to the motion, as far as approving this, and it is beyond the $1,500 amount. I 100% agree. This induction event would have normally not even come to us. This would have been an event that would have came through funding where they have a maximum of $2,000 per event. And so that for that reason, I want to honor that, what they were hoping for the entire last semester to use for this event, in the unfortunate circumstances we find ourselves today. And that's, I think rule suspension should happen when suspending rules is the best option with the current circumstances. I don't think it should be common practice, but I do think it should be When there are unforeseen circumstances, we should do that. Although rules are been suspended, we're not debating that, but.
Stephen?
This is just a point of information for TSAC folks. This funding, again, as Guy said, would have gone through CMEI. CMEI's cap of funding is up to was $3,800. So again, this would have been well within the threshold for what they have spent or could have spent, and they have not used the full $3,800. So this, again, I'm not telling you if I'm for or against it. I'm just saying that they did not meet that maximum in CMEI. So this falls within that threshold of what can be funded.
Scott, would you please restate your motion?
Yeah, just a motion to approve $1,800 for psychiatry. And second by Bill, right? Thank you.
Double second.
Next time.
Is there any opposition? Okay, is there any abstentions? I would ask Steffi to abstain. Thank you. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
This is going that
That's
fast.
Okay, moving forward with item C, or to item B. Already
Wait,
have,
Stephen has.
Patrick,
yeah.
oh, Will had his hand up.
Oh, so sorry, Mr. Coates. Was that during the first or the second? Maybe you can type in the chat.
It's probably voting.
Oh,
It was just a comment, a conversation.
Location.
all right. You know, just for voting purposes, I would like to know online, if you guys could write in the chat your votes for the approval for Psychi's 1800. We may move forward with going this democratic.
It does pass regardless, and we can look at that.
Such happens. Thank you, my friend.
Aye.
All right, and we will be active, so if needed. Okay, move forward with rare recovery community, the request of 1,600. I will say this one because given I was there. One of our delegates last year was part of this community and really spoke a lot of volumes of the impact that it had. Likewise, kind of demonstrated just how life-changing it can be as well. For the budget committee's presentation, and I really would like to use this as a reminder for us coming into this next section. This is our community asking for help, asking for support. Individuals such as our recovery community. It's not just our academic individuals, but it's also individuals who are trying to succeed academically and socially and, in life, just like we all are. This one was seen like an event, requesting to buy purchase tickets for students to be able to attend 2 games. These games are supposed to be tailgates. And these dinners at the game will allow students to feel like they would not feel too, how to put this, would feel normal and verbatim, would make them feel normal for at least a day. And that day, for many, changed their lives. Because this was a sober event that they partnered with ARC Sober, and who they also give additional tickets for them after the certain amount of purchases. It was very impactful for me seeing that, to the fact that we have people with tears explain just how much these events mean to them and just how much it impacts them inside and outside of school. For me, the request for 1,600, which is above the 1,500, is more than okay for me. I really don't have any hesitance for opposing this. This is an impact to our community, and it's helping people along the way. Is there any motions to approve this? You have a question?
How much are the tickets and how many?
It's in there.
I think
If I recall, this was for the approval for 4 tickets, for a total of 8 tickets, 4 for each event. They would be given two tickets for each event for the purchase of those.
they're purchasing 6 tickets, but they're getting 2 free tickets on top of that. So it's 8 total. Yeah, 8 total tickets per event. So that's 16 for both. And that's just to go to the game. And then the sober tailgate is before that, which more people will be at, which is the sort of the community part of it and the educational part of it.
Dalton?
I think this sounds really cool and awesome, but I am curious where the tailgate is. Is it gonna be on campus or?
It would, I believe the tailgate
To Tivoli.
is in the Tivoli.
It's on Tivoli 640.
Cool.
Just upstairs.
Dalton? Not Dalton.
Nathan? So has they gone through CMNI? Any other, where have they raised any money for this?
I feel the need to clarify. CMA doesn't have money right now.
Yeah, but have they tried?
Usually,
So they got, every student org leader got an email from CMI about 2 weeks ago that says, hey, we're out of money. So,
Okay, so I was
so
curious.
they
like,
haven't
when this
tried
happened.
because they know there's not money.
Okay,
Yes.
I was wondering if this
Yes,
was,
they've exhausted all the money that CMI can
but
give them.
I'm just trying to figure out like, was this planned like months before, so on and so forth? I'm just curious, like, any other avenues, because essentially what we're paying for is basically a couple tickets to go to sports games. It's fine, but it's like, I don't know how responsible that is.
Scott.
I want to clarify that the smallest purchase in this, some of the smallest purchases, is actually the tickets. It's the event itself that's happening before the game happens. The tailgate is the majority of the funding. It's like a little over 2/3 of the funding is the event. Just FYI.
And the tickets themselves, they're working with an outside organization called Sober AF. That's where they're getting the extra tickets.
Okay.
So it'll actually be a sober section at the games they're going to as well. So they can have some of their own community and safety within that environment as well.
Thank you, that clears a lot of that up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. Scott?
Move that we give ARC $1,600 for this event.
Second.
Okay. To debate? Okay. Is there any opposition? Any abstentions? All in favor, say aye. Affirmation. All right. Passed by verbal affirmation. Thank you. Moving forward for item C on CRSP 2606 resolution to reconsider FY 26 budget to support student organizations presented by Sky.
Hello. So before I read this resolution, I want to start by just saying that I've talked to the leaders for the Campus Event Fund, which is Tony, and to the head of the student travel. They have three different programs under that, but the head of student travel, Dave Rasta, who I think is actually listening online. And sort of identified that they're both facing some issues with being able to get money to our students for events and for the things that they are doing. For the Campus Event Fund, they've had to completely turn off their applications, as you've heard alluded to many times today. And so currently student orgs can't request for money to do events on campus. For student travel, they've had to reduce the amount that they can approve by I think it was 50 or 60%, compared to last year. So they're only able to approve about 30% of the applications they get, as opposed to about 90. And that's dramatically affected people to the point where they can't even go present their research at a conference, or they're going to have to pay thousands of dollars out of pocket to go present research at a conference because they can't get money through student travel like they would have expected to previously. And so I think that after looking at our budget, I think it's a good idea if we allocate some money to support these funds, and just in this moment support students when they can't get this money otherwise. Okay, now I'll read it. So This is CRSP 2606, resolution to reconsider the fiscal year 2026 budget to support student organizations while the campus event fund has paused applications, authored by Sky Childress. Abstract, considering the lack of funding availability for student organizations as of the spring 2026 semester, Student Government, the Student Advocacy Council reconsiders its budget for fiscal year 2026 to allocate funding to 2 programs within student affairs that support students and student organizations for student-led campus events, student travel, and student and professional development. Whereas the Campus Event Fund, also known as Campus Club funding, has run out of capacity to approve applications for student org funding and has placed a pause on all applications for the rest of the fiscal year. Whereas the Classroom to Career Hub's student travel programs have decreased the amount that students can request, and the program only has the capacity to approve around 30% of the requests they would otherwise approve. Whereas SGTSAC Student Organizations Allocations Fund is intended to be the funding option for student organizations that have exhausted their funding from Campus Event Fund and student travel. But the Campus Event Fund and student travel programs have had to close or significantly reduce their programs early this year. Whereas SGTSAC is not equipped to manage 30+ applications per month that would have otherwise been submitted to these programs. Whereas on last Monday, SGTSAC passed a motion to initiate a budget reconsideration, and on last Wednesday, the Budget Committee passed this resolution for the consideration of TSAC. Therefore, be it resolved, in accordance with Section 6.4 of the Budget Committee Guidelines and Procedures, SGTSAC reconsiders its previously approved budget for fiscal year 2026 because of a change in circumstances that have arisen during the academic year. Be it further resolved, the following reallocations are adopted: the Sustainability Committee Fund from $8,000 to $6,720.45. The Public Relations Committee Fund from $19,500 to $14,644.83. Accountability Committee Fund from $500 to $1,500. Internal Office Fund from $3,750 to $2,103.61. Leadership Development Fund from $7,597.60 to $5,117.90. Student Organizations Allocations Fund from $15,000 to $10,169.85. Elections Fund from $5,000 to $4,500. Student Delegate Stipend Fund from $2,100 to $1,800. Student Staff Compensation Fund from $17,500 to $16,519.50. Rainy Day Fund from $3,760.25 to $500. Be it further resolved, and just to clarify, you gotta remember I saw that, we're gonna talk about it in just a second, but be it further resolved, SGTSAC creates and allocates $11,479.03 to the TSAC Campus Event Funding Booster Fund for the purpose of directly supporting the CMEI Campus Event Funding Team to reopen their application and begin accepting new requests. The fund manager is the Budget Committee. Be it further resolved, SGTSAC creates and allocates $7,652.68 to the TSAC Student Travel Booster Fund for the purpose of directly supporting the C2 Hub student travel team to increase the number of applications they can approve. The funding manager is the Budget Committee. Be it further resolved, all purchases from the earlier mentioned booster funds will be made by their respective funding teams and charged directly to TSAC with an abundance of communication from all parties involved, all invoices and receipts being documented by TSAC, and a monthly report of spending being prepared by the staff leads of each external to TSAC program. Be it further resolved, all purchases charged to these booster funds must be made before June 15th and must be charged to TSAC no later than June 30th. Any funds remaining will be part of TSAC's fiscal year roll forward and will not be gifted to the respective external to TSAC programs. TSAC is not responsible for spending in excess of the amount allocated. Be it finally resolved, the Budget Committee of SGTSAC may, at its discretion, impose additional restrictions on how the TSAC Campus Event Funding Booster Fund and TSAC Student Travel Booster Fund may be used and communicate those expeditiously with relevant staff. Okay, and then while I still have the floor, I wanted to say that was a lot of numbers just thrown at you that probably doesn't make much sense to you guys. I talked to the fund managers, or at least a fund manager for each of the funds, to talk about how much money would be left in their fund with current spending. These allocations are looking at, the total amount allocated for the entire year. Just as an FYI, we can certainly get to those numbers if you have any questions about how much money is left as of today, if this were to pass, from there. Anyway, and then I yield the floor.
Thank you so much, Sky.
Or I moved to adopt the resolution, then it's seconded, then we debate. But yes, so I move to adopt the resolution.
Second.
All right, we're in debate. I would like for everyone to please speak up. Matt.
I do have some concerns with this. One, it's a lot of money that we're giving a lot of control over on. And two, I'm worried about the precedent it's gonna set because we, as TSAC historically, we've ran into issues with this. For instance, when we were funding the food pantry, every year they started coming back for more and more money until we couldn't. And I don't see any of this in here, or I've not heard any conversations about how this problem will be fixed next year. Because without any roll forward, I would assume it would happen again.
Okay, and I saw Nathan's.
There's also Will on.
How much time is left in the financial year? Is that at the end of May or
It's the end of June.
end of June? Okay.
Rhea.
So I see a lot of these numbers are going down or decreasing. However, the only one that increases is the accountability committee fund from 500 to 1,500. You elaborate as to why it's increasing.
Direct response.
Yeah, I can respond to that. So accountability has been planning an event. They with their $500 plus another 1,000 from PR. So that's just moving that there for easy accounting. That's all it is. It's steering this. So in considering how much money to take from PR, we had to consider that 1,000, and it was easier to move that money to accountability during a reconsideration, and then be able to look at how much money's left in PR for the rest of the business. So it's just moving that money from what it's already planned to be used for directly to the fund where it could easily be accounted for. So,
William online and then Emma.
I do have a question. Can we possibly scroll down to the numbers?
What?
I think it's to the numbers, I would imagine. Sorry, not that.
Those, yep, thank you. I have no further questions. I just wanted to look at it.
Thank you so much, Will. Emma.
Well, to answer Matt's question, original question, I can let you know that while nothing's approved yet, SAB did put event funding as a top priority, knowing the situation. I can't imagine a situation where they're not getting more money next year. Every single situation, everybody's getting more money. And campus event funding should be a higher priority for SAB funding.
Thank you. Stephen, then Scott.
Yeah, TSAC, as you review this, there are a few things I want you all to consider. I happen to agree with some of Matt's thoughts about setting a precedent. I think that if you were talking about organizations, and please, I recognize there may be bias when I say this. I think if this is something you all are looking at, I think what you need to consider is the funding available, right? So for sure, CMEI depleted its funds. I think it's admirable that you're all doing that. I agree with Matt to the precedent, not just externally, but also internally, making it hard to sort of backtrack doing something like this again. I will share though that student travel funding has not run out. They have, though, scaled back, as Sky had mentioned, the amount that they are giving. So they have not run out of their funds. Two other things. One, I guess they're both questions for you all to discuss. The first is the student delegate stipend fund, 2,100 to 1,800. Sky, I'm not sure what you mean by that. So that's more of a question. And then something for you all. I would encourage you all to look at potentially a friendly amendment on be it further resolved about the funding charged to these boosters must be made before this date, no later than. I would ask that you all move those dates significantly up. They probably can't be charged to TSAC no later than June 15th. And so charges for the booster funds may be made before June 1st. And a lot of that is from the accounting aspect of it. And the university has to close its books from the previous fiscal year. So. Sky.
I want to say thank you to Stephen. You told me all that already. Thank you for approaching me ahead of time with your thoughts on the reso. I think, yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% friendly to changing that to actually redid. Be it further resolved, all purchases charged to these booster funds must be made before June 15th and must be charged to TSAC no later than June 30th. I'm totally happy with making that May 1st or May 30th and June 15th respectively. Just to move it up 15 days to make sure accounting's easy for everybody involved. That's 100% friendly. I'll incorporate that. And then as far as the student delegate stipend fund, we had initially allocated $2,100 for 7 delegates. We have 6. Is that still a thing? And so we had one person stop before being inaugurated. And so there's $300 additional that I think we should pull back into the fold and consider using this year. That's why I didn't speak to you about that. I think the budget committee is technically the fund manager for that. That's why I didn't, but yeah. Okay. And then as far as the setting a precedent, I agree. I 100% agree. This could set a precedent. I also think that in our Constitution, there's this part that talks about us giving money to student organizations. And it's sort of the precursor part before we actually get into the side of things for the budget, for the actual budget committee's process. But I think given, and it touches on the resolution, but given that we don't have the capacity to really approve these applications and then really consider these applications the way that they need to be considered, given the influx that we're going to see as very soon if these funds don't reopen. I think that we need to work with our campus partners that already do this work to make that possible. There's a specific section in here in the I think it's the very last one that sets that our budget committee can set restrictions on how this money can be used. I put that in there so that we didn't have to write out a formal process for how this works, but instead having the budget committee be able to do it on the spot. And so if the budget committee wants to say that we're going to send a TSAC member to be a part of the campus, event funding team to approve every request at be the final approval or whatever, they can do that. We can have our input on it. We can have that person report back directly to us and tell us about all the amazing projects that we are funding. We can also have our PR team be intimately involved in ensuring that that these organizations know and understand that this money is coming from TSAC and how we can spread that word there too. I think that's something we should do, and this is written in here, and that's why I think it's not necessarily as dangerous of setting a precedent. I don't think it's equivalent to looking at years past where another department might be coming to us for money in that case. I think there's been some really interesting dynamics that have happened this year on funding, and I think that this is the best way we can support students with our current budget.
So I have 2 things. So just establish a queue here. Online, just want to say here, Faye said, I believe Tony said that they would be reevaluating how much orgs are able to request when she visit our meeting, but no further info was offered as far as I'm aware. But Stephen did clarify that Tony and team have not reviewed funding will look like for last year, but they're planning to work on it. And I'll move for the queue. We will, Emma and Dr. Brown.
I was gonna echo some of what Sky said, but just saying too, I think.
Will's gonna go first.
Oh, sorry.
Then you.
I just have a quick wording question. I know that we stated that we have 1 less delegate, but I just want to triple check that the delegates who are with us not have their stipend to and on record for that.
Will, just so you're aware, we're not hearing everything that you're saying. You're cutting in and out. You're asking about the delegates in the room. Is that?
He says 1 sec.
1 sec.
I'll go for Emma in the meantime.
Okay, I was just going to say too that I think there is Tony was very open to a a very intimate relationship of discussing this. So I don't think that she's under the impression that this is going to be a precedent for the future, but rather It was my understanding that she's adjusting for the future and will also keep TSAC in the know during those conversations. If, this is going to be a continued, issue, things like that. We can open up lines of dialogue instead of, I don't think that this sets a negative precedent, but just opens lines of dialogue to probably actually be more informed in the future about where funding's going and how we can support. I think it's you.
Dr. Brown?
Yeah, I share concerns about the precedent too, and I also recognize this is a unique challenge that we're all navigating right now because of our financial resources being so limited these days. And so I think ultimately, like, those are the things you all have to consider in terms of I think I said this in some meeting, this feels like a Band-Aid solution, right? I agree that we need to think of a long-term strategy. This can't be something that we keep leaning on TSAC for. I don't feel good about that in my role personally. And Stephen and I have had a lot of conversations about that. This doesn't feel good for us as administrators to be leaning into you all to help support. And at the same time, we're very grateful and thankful that you all are willing to step up in this way, but we recognize the burden that you're taking on, right? So there's that. And then the other thing I was going to say, which I forgot what it was. It was about precedents. Oh, that I do think something we want to at least begin to think about is as part of that long-term strategy. I know we keep talking about fees and student fees, and I do think a student engagement fee is something we want to at least start to think about. And I'd love to think about that with all of you and what that could or might look like around like these, right? Like student org, student travel. These are some really important programs. And as student engagement continues to increase, which is a good thing. I think of this as it's not a problem. It's a good thing. But how are we going to supplement that despite our financial landscape as an institution? So that's all I'll say as more of a long-term solution later on, not now.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. Scott?
I want to say, I think this simile for me is less of a Band-Aid, it's more of crutches. I think there's a problem that's happened and needs to heal, and when it's healed, we won't need the crutches anymore. I kind of want to make it instead of like a tourniquet, but I don't know that it's there. Not quite there yet. But I would say I think it's crutches. I think we're experiencing an immediate problem where student orgs are feeling the impacts of not being able to request this money. I've talked to many of them. I've gone to a couple student org meetings, just that I'm not even part of, just the last week or so, just to talk to people about this. And like, I'm seeing the real effects of it. And I really want to support student orgs in this moment. And that's what I think is the most important. I think second to that, we need to really be thinking about, like future iterations of TSAC and future precedent and helping prepare, that entire wing on the side of money on that. So yeah, thank you.
All right, and William, online, he said, yeah, 2 questions. Will the delegates have their stipends reduced? He said, I want to make sure we hold up our agreement with them when they came on board. Secondly, is there a proposed or any potential ideas for next semester in addressing this reduction in funding? It is important to understand this, whether or not this becomes a precedent next semester. And as these guys seem for their response.
I want to say I would never, ever consider reducing the delegate stipends from what they already agreed to when they applied to the program. So I think the distinction there, Will, is that there's not 7 delegates, there's only 6, and we planned for 7. And so we're taking the stipend from the other delegate. That's the difference.
Second question was, is there a proposed or any potential ideas for next semester in addressing this reduction in funding?
I've certainly heard. I've definitely heard from Campus Event Fund their proposal for next year, which is to decrease the amount the students can request by some marginal amount. There's also from SAB, they'll likely get more money as well. And I think this comes as a result of a lot of campus engagement and not necessarily thinking about the funding as far in advance on like an MSU wide perspective. I think that's one thing to do. But let's see. Thank you.
Ben.
Hi again. I think
Like, I think this is really admirable, like, not only for our students, but, you know, the fact that we have like C2 Hub and all of those other departments that also have a lot of money, and like, I really wish that like other departments would step up to bail each other out the way you guys are bailing. I know the student travel is the C2 Hub. I'm just saying, like, yes, as everybody's saying, there needs to be a more permanent solution. And I'm just here to like ask you kindly again that like, I know it's not a lot of money, I know it's $500, but I again ask you very kindly to please sustain the elections budget as it is right now. I have no say on this, of course. But I'm just, as the person who's like overseeing the elections, and I see like, I've been doing outreach into campus. That's my say.
Direct response?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm the only author on this, and so that's a friendly amendment. I'll take that as that. So the friendly amendment I'll voice into the record is striking the bullet that talks about the elections fund entirely. And then changing the amount to the campus event funding booster fund to 11,179.03 instead of 11,479.03. And then to the student travel fund, 7,452.68 instead of 7,652.68. Anyway, thank you, Denny.
Thank you. Bye.
And online, they also said, also, if the arts fees passes their current SB allocation will free up as a thing to keep in mind. Susanna?
I think I have a clarifying question, because are we asking for two different allocated funds for two different programs, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that's about 18,000 total that we're giving out.
Yes. A little over 18.
Just wanted to clarify.
Likewise, for student travel, you guys haven't run out of funding yet, correct?
Right. Well, I feel, sorry.
And then
Scott.
Oh, Sky can go.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, this is something I forgot to respond to with Steven as well, is that, yes, the student travel fund is not run out. What they did do is at the end of last semester, look at their amount of money they had left, and they split that up for the rest of the months in the fiscal year. And that meant that they can only give out 30% of the applications that they get for the 3 different programs that they run. Whereas they typically approve a little over 90% because the majority of them are like well-reasoned and thought out proposals. And so they're having to turn people down to go even present research like that they would have been wanting to do already. And so I think we should absolutely fund it. Even though they still have money left, they have so little money left that every month they run out and they have to turn a lot of people down.
Kirby, and then Nathan.
Direct response to Sky. We recently had our student travel meeting, and I know Dave said that we are going to increase the student fee for student travel next year. So we would be able to get the funding from there as well. And then there's some conversations going on between donations to get for student travel. So I don't think that is a problem right now to fund student travel.
I have a quick response.
Direct response.
I just wanted to say that, so any increased student fees, which I certainly haven't heard about, would not be impacting this current fiscal year's money. So this is money that's going to be given to students that are leaving for their travel, in 20 days or whatever, or in 30 days from now, or as we continue on, 30 days out from their application. This is not next year. I think what you might have heard about was the increase that they expect to get from SAB, that may be the student fee side of things. But I think that's also not about this resolution necessarily, the student fee, so we don't have to get too far deep. But
yeah. Dr. Brown?
One thing that I thought about that I do want to say is that regardless of what happens, I would highly encourage you all to consider ways that you're going to engage with student orgs. Even if it's not going to be having them come and present or giving the budget committee the authority to go ahead and approve those or however you're going to do it, but I think that this is an opportunity for you all to engage with student organizations and student leaders on campus, to engage them with student government, and to also encourage them to think about running in future years. And so what that could look like is something like Tony talked about maybe doing a forum for student orgs or something like that, or like going, I don't know, something. Like the relationship should be reciprocal, where you're not just giving funding out, but what are you also getting in terms of like them coming to you, learning from you, and you all really demonstrating your leadership, right? As civil servants on our campus and leaders, and how are you engaging them as student organizations? I think that's a really important aspect of this, whatever that looks like. I just think that that's huge if you're not going to be intimately involved in the process of approving, because whether it's Tony and team or Dave and team are doing that, some way that you are functionally doing that is really, really important.
As we support the evolving needs students. Think of that. No, I think it's worth, like, that's worth mentioning that it's a very important opportunity for outreach, and we do have that, like, at student orgs email that we could use. And if you will, like, the most probable thing, and I'll talk more about this when we get to the staff updates. If this is something the TSAP wants to push forward, we can move the elections, the applications candidate, like, move the deadline a little bit if this is something that, like, you guys want to pursue and want to tell people, like, hey, if you want to run under this, those are my 2 cents and what we can do.
Sky in the house.
Just want to say there's 20 minutes until we have a speaker for the rest of our meeting. So I do think we need to get going. We have 2 more resos and the entirety of updates. So I guess I'm not going to motion for it, but I do ask that we vote.
I do ask that we vote on it. I also feel like I'll make sure that we're all knowing consciously where we're going, doing like the implications that's put into this with this resolution. You know, I don't want us to be like put in history. You know, I don't want to be like an Articles of Confederation, right? You know, and then we have to do a whole new Bill of Rights for all this stuff. So, you know, we want to make sure that this that we're doing is going to be functional, that this is actually going to benefit us in the student community that we are a part of. And those are key, whether that has to be that we have to slow this down, come back to it, it's all right for me, or for the urgency that it is, we all are aware of, is for it to be passed now. So I'd like for you guys to do that. Emma.
I would motion to vote,
I'll second the motion to end discussion.
or to end discussion, whatever I'm doing. I want to vote.
Since due to this being contentious, I feel I would like to do roll call.
Point of clarification, we have to vote on whether or not to stop discussing first, because that's the motion. I think that could probably be unanimous.
Yes.
Well, I just wanted to give out my concerns.
I have a point of order. We're in the middle of a motion to end discussion. You have to hear that first before you can hear any other debate. So you can vote it.
Can discuss the motion.
It
Not
doesn't
debate.
really matter. We could just go to vote.
All
You
right.
just have to
All right. Is there any opposition?
motion to end the discussion.
That's guys. Okay. Any abstentions? Checking online. Please be quick with y'all too. All right.
Discussion's over.
Discussion's over. Now we'll go for roll call. All right. We'll go. Not Will. Let's go with Matthew Rath. We added after. You want to get Dan on?
No, that's crazy.
Um,
Decisive.
We can move forward if you want to. No. Steffi Calero.
Yes.
Emma Fox.
Yes.
Irby Hall. Maria Garcia. Patrick Cervera.
Vas a tardar como güey.
I approve. Sky,
Yes.
Susana. Rowan.
Yes.
Online. We have an I from William Coates and an I from Fayberry. We have 7 yeses, 2 abstentions, and 2 nays. Motion passes. Approval of this resolution has gone through.
Wait, don't we have to amend the budget?
Elections? It was a friendly amendment.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
All right, moving forward. I do want to say congratulations, everybody. That was a good. That's some politics. All right. Okay. For new business resolution, call for preparation for ICE activity presented by Dalton Novel. I do see Sky has her hand up.
Yeah, I just asked that we table this to after item B.
Item.
I'll move that. So that,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. All right, fair enough. All right. I am amendment. All right, let's go for item B, CR 26, SP 2608, resolution to fund packing purpose with Steffi Calero.
I'll start reading by reading the abstract. The SGT, Staff Public Relations Committee, is responsible for promoting the initiatives, events, and resources to the MSU Denver student body to foster community. This resolution supports the Public Relations Committee in enhancing the student experience by hosting an event with a service component to it that supports the immigrant community. This resolution requests funding from the Public Relations budget to fund Packing with Purpose event. Whereas Metropolitan State University of Denver Students Government, the Student Advocacy Council's mission is to support the evolving needs of the MSU Denver students by advocating in their best interest to enhance the university experience and opportunity. Whereas the Public Relations Committee of SGTSAC aims to create a supportive, resourceful, and engaging campus environment for all MSU Denver students. To continue this mission, the Public Relations Committee would like to host a service event in collaboration with Casa de Paz, a community organization. Whereas Casa de Paz welcomed recently released newcomers, asylum seekers, and immigrants. They welcome guests who are released from the Immigration Detention Center in Aurora, Colorado. They provide them with a safe temporary space to go to so they can connect with their loved ones and make travel arrangements on to their final destination. Whereas SGTSAC will provide materials to assemble backpacks and snack bags and writings or cards that will be donated to Casa de Paz for individuals released from ICE detention. During this event, SGTSAC will be providing lunch by Los Molinos for participants. Whereas funding for this event will be taken from the Public Relations Committee's fund. Therefore, be it resolved at the request of the Public Relations Committee, Student Government, the Advocacy Council authorizes up to $2,500 from the Public Relations budget to fund this event.
Thank you, Steffi. Open the floor for discussion. Sky?
I endorse this reso. I love it. I'm curious, the 2,500 changed from 2,200 from Friday. Just curious why.
Yes, I can speak on that. Because we had to include the price to print out 2 banners. Yeah, we were told that we had to, it changed, so we were gonna be charged for 2 banners, so just to include them in the bill.
Sky?
Just wanted to say that that's $300 that was not previously accounted for in the PR budget. We just did a budget consideration. Something to consider. That did include $2,000 for buying school supplies after food for finals, so that may be where you guys need to take it from, but just.
Okay, seeing as there's much discussion. Dalton?
Yeah, Casa de Paz is really awesome. I move that we vote.
All right, do I have a second for that?
Second.
Whoa. We banned motions to vote, just
Yeah, we have to-
just making that clear.
And
It's just, I asked the author to just motion to approve the resolution.
Okay. I motion to approve this resolution. I second that.
Fantastic. All right. You just did that. All right. Is there any oppositions? Any abstentions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. It passes. We're in discussion. That's really cool. Okay. Congratulations, Casa de Paz. It's official, y'all. Acting with purpose. All right, move forward with, back to CRSP 2607, resolution for Quorum preparations for ICE activity on campus. Dalton, Wolf, Sky.
I just, once again, before we start this, I wanted to ask Stephen and Cynthia, do you guys know if Andrea intends to be on time? I don't know. Never invited her to the meeting before.
They're usually on
Yeah.
time, so.
So I just want to note to the council, we have 11 minutes until we are gonna have a speaker here for the last 30 minutes of our meeting. There's a lot that's on our agenda. I think it makes the most sense to let the council decide what we're gonna talk about for these next 10 minutes, because there's so many things. If we want to do updates, if we want to do item B or C on new business, or what we want to do, just,
We also have a guest as well for this resolution.
yeah, that's also nothing to consider.
Right.
Just wanted to have that decided before we.
And I did want to introduce our guest as well. We have our guest, Gregor, who's from the Head of Immigrant Services Program. I'm pretty sure you're here for this resolution.
Yes, to any extent that I can answer questions or that you all want to hear from me, that's what I'm here for, not for anything else.
Thank you, Gregor.
Like I rest, go on, Don, but it's okay.
Dalton, please. Oh, no.
It's okay. Dalton's over here.
Dalton, please.
Right there. Yeah, I got you. Sorry about that.
Out of condition matching.
Shall I just read it?
Yeah.
Please, please. Thank you so much.
Resolution or CRSP 2607, resolution calling for preparations to ensure campus safety in the event of immigration and customs enforcement activity on campus, authored by Dalton Ogden, Skies, Shay Childress, endorsed by Emma Fox, Fayberry, Matthew Rathbun, Rowan East, and Steffi Galero. Abstract. SGTSEC calls on Auraria Campus, MSU Denver, CU Denver, and CCD to implement policies and procedures regarding ensuring safety in the event of immigration and customs enforcement activity on campus. SGTSEC intends to propose a policy change to MSU Denver's University Policy Advisory Council in accordance with MSU Denver's Policy and Procedure Enactment Policy, and designates representatives to communicate with university leadership regarding such policy proposal. SGTSEC intends to work in coalition with the student governance bodies on the Auraria campus to further the policy to be enacted at all 4 institutions of the campus. Whereas the mission of SGTSEC is to support the evolving needs of the MSU Denver students by advocating in their best interests to enhance the university experience and opportunities. Whereas our students learn, work, and otherwise engage in the campus in spaces that are under the shared governance of all 4 institutions, it is SGTSEC's duty to advocate for our student safety in all spaces on the Auraria campus. Whereas SGTSEC believes that the safety of all students, staff, faculty, and community members of the Auraria campus is tied to the safety of the MSU Denver students. Whereas the Department of Homeland Security rescinded the 2021 Protected Areas Memorandum that prevented immigration officers from enforcing immigration laws on college campuses, schools, hospitals, funeral homes, and many other sensitive areas. Whereas, since the Protected Areas Memorandum was rescinded, Immigration and Customs Enforcement has conducted enforcement operations at or near schools and conducted 3,230 operations in the Denver area of responsibility in 2025, with approximately 1,548 occurring in the city and county of Denver. Whereas on February 26, 2026, federal agents impersonated the New York City Police Department to enter Columbia University dormitory and arrested Almina Agayeva, who has since been released from custody because the arrest was in violation of her rights because the university had designated the building to be non-public and restricted to badged campus community members only. Actions like this on
on the property of a university illustrate the pressing need for increased protection and vigilance on Auraria campus. And this court ruling indicates that the policies of the institutions on this campus do have a direct effect on the legal authority that ICE may have to detain our campus community members. Whereas any on-campus presence of ICE, DHS, Customs and Border Protection, and any federal agency that enforces immigration law is contrary to the well-being of the MSU Denver student body. Whereas under Auraria Campus Safety Policy number 7.7, immigration enforcement, federal agents are permitted to enter public areas on Auraria campus and are not allowed to enter non-public areas without a judicial warrant. However, the policy leaves public areas without clear definition, begging the question of whether buildings that remain unlocked during business hours are considered public areas for the purpose of federal agents enforcing immigration laws. Additionally, this policy does not affect buildings on campus that are not controlled by the Auraria Campus Access Control. Whereas on March 21st, 2025, via the passage of CR SP 2514, SGTSEC supported the proposal that resulted in the current protocol to shift Jordan Student Success Building to badge access only status in the event of on-campus ICE enforcement action, and called for an even more protective policy to be enacted, outlining specific aspects of such a policy, including the closure and full lockdown of the campus in the event of confirmed campus ICE presence, and a notification of the campus community of ICE presence using the Rave Alert system operated by Auraria campus. Whereas, in the spring 2025 student election, MSU Denver students voted overwhelmingly in favor of MSU Denver and Auraria campus implementing policy that prohibits immigration agents from being present on campus, regardless of whether parts of the campus are otherwise open to the public. Whereas on January 30th, 2026, there was a widespread rumor that ICE was present on campus, alarming many members of the community and causing MSU Denver students to feel unsafe. This report was proven to be false and was the result of the perception that a large number of DPD officers staging on campus were ICE officers. ACPD was notified of the activity by DPD on this day, but refused to use the Rave Alert system to notify the campus of the heavy police presence, including tactical vehicles and officers dressed in non-standard uniforms. Whereas on February 26, 2026, Denver Mayor Mike Johnston issued Executive Order number 152, essentially banning immigration enforcement agents from conducting immigration enforcement actions on city property without a valid judicial again calls for the creation and revision of MSU Denver policy and procedure that would affect the following. Outline a process for MSU Denver community members to report law enforcement activity on campuses to MSU Denver, and upon submission of a report, MSU Denver have a standing process for verifying the validity of a report and assess any threat that the action may have on the MSU Denver community, and take swift, appropriate action to keep MSU Denver community safe. Declare that all spaces owned, leased, or otherwise controlled by MSU Denver are not open to federal law enforcement agents unless there is a legal requirement of MSU Denver to allow such presence, such as a judicial warrant or court order. Direct how and where federal agents may contact MSU Denver to produce a warrant or otherwise give notice of the reason that federal law enforcement may have authority to enter MSU Denver spaces. Be it further resolved, SGTSEC directs the University Policy Advisory Council representatives to work with the MSU Denver Policy Administrator, Responsible Administrator, and UPAC to format and present the policies and/or procedures described above in accordance with the MSU Denver Policy and Procedure Enactment Policy. Be it further resolved, the SGTSEC calls on the Auraria Board of Directors to amend their Campus Safety Policy 7.7 to affect the following. Declare all areas of the campus, including public areas, to be considered non-public to federal agents for the purpose of enforcing immigration laws, including outside areas and buildings otherwise open to the public. Declare that federal agents are not permitted to be on the Auraria campus for the purposes of enforcing immigration laws unless there's a legal reason that Auraria campus cannot restrict their access to campus, such as a valid judicial warrant or court order, and direct how and where federal agents may contact Auraria campus to produce a warrant or otherwise give notice of the reason that federal law enforcement have authority to enter onto the Auraria campus. Declare that if federal agents are part of the community, Auraria campus community as students, staff, or faculty, that their presence on the campus is permitted only in their capacity as a student, staff, or faculty. And if they wish to engage in any immigration law enforcement activity, they must remove themselves from the campus before any such enforcement and would only be allowed on the campus for the purposes of enforcement if there is a legal reason that Auraria campus cannot deny their presence on campus, such as a valid judicial warrant or court order. Be it further resolved, SGTSAC calls on the Auraria Board of Directors and or Auraria Campus CEO Colleen Walker to enact or direct the enactment of a procedure to effect the following. Require that any active agent of DHS, ICE, CBP, or other federal immigration law enforcement agency that currently has or seeks to obtain a campus ID, the agent must disclose to Auraria campus their affiliation with an immigration law enforcement agency prior to attempting to obtain a campus ID. In the case of such officer who currently have a campus ID, such agents must notify Auraria campus of the same before May 31st, 2026. Maintain a list of currently active federal immigration agents who have Auraria campus IDs and revoke their access to all buildings immediately upon the confirmation of immigration enforcement activity. Outline a process for Auraria campus community members to report law enforcement activity on campus to Auraria campus, and on submission of a report, Auraria campus have a standing policy for verifying the validity of a report and assess any threat that the action may have on the Auraria campus community and take swift, appropriate action to keep the Auraria campus community safe. Outline a procedure that the rave alert system be used to notify the campus community of confirmed presence of immigration agents on campus and be used to inform the campus community of any planned law enforcement operation on the campus and to dispel any widespread rumors of immigration enforcement activity on campus if it is determined the rumor stems from an incident confirmed not to be immigration related. Be it finally resolved, SGTSAC will designate a member of or members to communicate with the CCD Student Government Association and the CU Denver Student Government Association to request they work in coalition with SGTSAC to accomplish these much needed campus safety preparations. And SGTSAC also directs its representatives on the Student Advisory Committee to the Auraria Board to do the same.
4 pages, Dave.
All right. We hear,
Yeah, I'll move for the adoption. We'll second it and then go into debate. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
second, all right, we'll open up for discussion. Nathan?
There's two issues when it comes to this. I'll list a major one first. So by declaring all areas on that campus, including public areas, to be considered non-public, that could get us liable for false statement clause. Or if we are directly lying to law enforcement, it could get us in trouble.
I think that's a legal analysis. I don't know that that's in the scope of us as counselors. I don't know if you have some sort of legal training. But I would say that's likely false, but I'm not competent to talk about that with you. We have David Fine, which is really funny. But we walk in right when the legal question comes up. But yeah. No. Not right now. I also want to clarify, our guest is here, will be invited to speak to us. And so just a thing to consider as we decide the rest of the business for the day.
Emma?
Just out of curiosity, were any undocumented students consulted when writing this? Like, since it would affect them most?
Scott?
I ran it by a single undocumented student that I know. But in the writing of the resolution, I did not specifically consult undocumented students at large. So I don't have a mailing. I just said, no, that's not like.
Can I say something? Sure. Like, I'm not fully documented. I'm not a citizen. I'm actually in the process of citizenship. Thank you, Gregor, for your office too. Like, you guys have been so involved in it. And I don't know, to me, this is a little scary. Like, I wouldn't, if, you know, like it gets to a point that there's like a media frenzy and this, like, I wouldn't feel safe coming to campus. But that's just my 2 cents.
I'll directly respond. Yeah, I think ICE is scary. And I think that the things talked about in this resolution are scary. But they're just events that have happened. And I think it makes sense for us to speak about it. 100%.
I guess this is more of a question to Gregor. Would this, I don't know how to state it, but would it put us on the frame? I don't know. Do you know where?
Oh, I absolutely, yeah. Thank you for the question. And by the way, I'm not going to speak until you all ask me questions. I'm literally, that's like, if you have questions and if you know me, I can talk and I will talk, but it's not my role in this room today, right, to inform unless you all have questions for me. So thank you for the question. I can't evaluate that. We are in an environment you all probably have heard, like there have been news stories, right? Not friendly news stories, but in like conservative media about places like Metro and Metro. And we're like, one of the, like my first, second, and last goal is to keep every single student safe, but especially so students served by Immigrant Services Program. And I think the concern about passing resolutions, right, that sort of create a target by the folks who read whatever publication or whatever Reddit forum or whatever it is, right, where they read it, I think the chance is greater than 0. And whether that, you know, whether that's like 5% or 65%, I can't assess. And I would say it's hard for people to assess. But in risk aversion, you always want to be very careful about, you know, if the chance for something is greater than 0, we call it sort of like, not we, like, I don't know where I picked that up. It's like, but like low probability, high impact, right? And you want to avoid those. That's why I have a fire extinguisher under my sink. I'm probably never going to use it, but boy, when I need it, like, I'm really going to be glad it's there. So I think it's a very valid concern to say, if this school does something that that stands out to whomever, that could create risk for folks. Whether it does or not, I really can't. Like, if you wanted me to assess would I do it or not, I'm not going to speak for that because it's y'all's resolution.
Thank you, Gregor. I would also like to entertain a motion to table discussion on this item until after a guest speaker speaks or until after next time for this period. Sky.
I motion to table everything on the agenda from now until our visit from AVP from Chief Andrea Smith until next week.
Or they meet.
Until next, that's my motion, until next week.
Seconded. Okay, do we have any opposition? Any abstentions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
So,
Alrighty.
thank you, Gregor.
Thank you so much, Gregor.
I can be here next whenever.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate your time.
Thank you all.
I would like to also move forward for our next section. So obviously we're going for a visit from Associate VP of Strategic Communications, Andrea Smith. We also have our 2 guests as well. You guys could just will you introduce yourselves? Yeah.
Where specifically you want us?
Wherever you'd like to be.
Standing up is helpful for me. Andrea Smith, Associate Vice President, Strategic Communications. I work in the Office of University Communications and Marketing. So hopefully you all are familiar with some of our work. As the guest, I brought two special guests. And I can let them introduce themselves, but, Brandon Whitfield, our social media manager, who works very close, both of them work very closely with and together, as well as David Fine, our general counsel. So, I thought their insights might also add to this conversation. And really want to keep it open. What I want to tell you about me is I've been with the university for about 4 years. I came from outside higher ed and I went to college. So I thought, wow, how hard can it be to learn academia? Well, I underestimated that. There are a lot of complexities and just really appreciate seeing what you all are doing in this room to, you know, address the dynamics in a very collaborative and thoughtful way. So thanks for letting us be here. Really want to turn it over to you all to make sure we're able to cover what you want to talk about today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll let Sky.
Yeah, I'm the one that invited Cinder. That's why I'm going. I want to talk about two things: the social media policy that we've heard in cabinet and in UPAC, and then I believe it's going for a third read sometime soon. And then also something that sort of came up that I sent you an email on was what we were discussing with Gregor a little bit, which is what is, if any, what is a university communication strategy for like emergency procedures, like writ large, but also for if ICE comes to campus. Those like two main topics is what I was hoping to hear.
Great. So we'll start with social media policy then.
Yeah.
Social media policy, what you should know about it is there is a current policy. It was passed in 2020. And what Brandon and I are attempting to do is just to update that policy. It's outdated. It had some gaps. We had some technical challenges with things that were happening with the university social media properties. There wasn't a lot of clarity between the student organizations and the expectations that those properties had, as well as the departmental pages. There were governance challenges. So for example, we had pages in departments that would turn over, and the person who was responsible, maybe they were the person that started that, you know, Instagram account, and it's math and stats, right? That person leaves the university, that position is vacant for however long that time is. They've secured that handle, like MSU Denver Math, right? You know, they're operating within brand standards, they're working with us, you know, everything's going well, but they leave. In those instances, oftentimes when a new person starts in the role, they'll reach out to us and say, how do I get access to that account? And we'll say, you should have had a departmental process or procedure for that handoff. And now, unfortunately, as you all know who work with social media, it's not like you can just call up Meta and be like, hey, we need access to that math and stats. So now MSU Denver Math and Stats and that brand is no longer available for use because we can't figure out how to get back into that account. And Brandon can speak to more of the specifics here.
Yeah.
So we were starting to run into multiple iterations of that where we're really sort of losing control of our brand and the actual handles that people would want to use in the future. So when Brandon came in, he said, wow, this is really sort of the Wild West. We need to address some of these issues. And so he was instrumental in helping revise the social media policy and clarify some of those issues that he had seen in his day-to-day work. So a little bit about why we updated the policy. Brandon, and is there anything specific you'd like to share about the policy?
Yeah, I think that's one of the major updates. So just really helping create some processes for that onboarding and offboarding. Thanks to Stephen and team too, have been getting some clarity on how departmental pages are differentiated from the student org pages and kind of that process, and just working on some efficiencies there. And then the biggest update is AI is here. So what does that mean on social, and especially through the university perspective? So just adding some context and guidelines there. I'm in collaboration with Samjay, who does a lot in the AI space at our university. So just really outlining that it's human first, and that it should just really be a tool to aid your creation, not take over, and just things that matter for the university, like not putting in personal information or anything, or any student information as well. So things like that have been outlined, and of course are a big change from 2020. So those are the major updates that Andrew spoke to. And then kind of what we'll get into today is really just protecting your freedom of expression on social. on a personal standpoint, and then how to approach that from when you're representing the university as well.
So at President's Cabinet, something that was discussed was regarding the implicit bias or support for like a political side argument. So for me, TSAC last year, we submitted a statement on political rhetoric impacting students. And we're just discussing about the results about it, not really specifying direct biases towards anybody, but more of an affirmation to our community as students and like towards support of their needs. Just due to the effects, and we kind of hearing the rhetoric that was and actions that were really heard around the community after this new president that we have. So would those, something like that, would that be impactful under these new policies? Would we be able to do any rhetorics or statements regarding politics or anything like that?
Can I ask first, for you to explain the part of the policy that talks about, organization accounts and political speech in any way?
So essentially, couple of things to note here. Student organizations require a disclaimer. I forget the exact language, but you guys gave it to us. And it essentially says you have to, on your student organization page, have this language that basically says our thoughts are our own, you know, kind
Yeah,
of
the
thing.
views and statements expressed by this organization are solely those of the organization and do not reflect or imply endorsement or represent the stance or policies of the effort. And that's for student organizations.
So that's already in the student organization leaders handbook. I think that's what it's called. So that right there, and I'll let David, that's where I'll pass it to David to speak to, but that allows the student organizations then to be able to, you know, have these thoughts and ideas on their pages as they see fit. He didn't say I was wrong, so that's all that matters.
It's basically when the student organization makes a statement about whatever it is, it just says this is our statement, not our position, not the position of the university necessarily.
So the answer to your question is no, that would not violate the policy.
Thank you.
And that's the same would be true for any department that has a position on something or any other part of the university. That the university doesn't typically sort of speak on these issues. And so if the department says we believe X, Y, and Z, it's important that it's clear that they're not speaking on behalf of the university, or if a professor does, or if a student does. Not that, and so TSAC, people might think, okay, if TSAC says this, that must be MSU Denver's position. So it just makes it clear that it's TSAC's position, and you're obviously welcome to have whatever position you want on whatever issue there is, but just makes clear that it's not, you're not speaking on behalf of the university, you're speaking on behalf of TSAC.
And in general, to answer your question, just to position it for everybody, this policy only applies to official university social media properties, right? So it does not apply to personal accounts, personal pages, things like that whatsoever, unless someone is intentionally positioning themselves as a spokesperson or speaking on behalf of the university, right? So that would be that. This is where a lot of the discussion is happening, sort of in that area. Does that help?
The language around allowing student orgs to put that disclaimer in their bio and still speak politically, and also departments, is that language new from the last time that I've seen the policy?
No. Well, I should say the student org is the same as it was. Essentially, we did pull back on some of the things that we had discussed around the timeframes. We edited some of that so that it really just defers to what is in the handbook, right? For the student organization leaders. So it's less prescriptive on the student organizations. So however you guys want to deal with the, you know, those challenges that I described earlier. So that was a change, but no, the fact that that disclaimer language is required, I believe, has long been included in that student leader handbook.
Yeah, so we just collaborated with Tony and the CBI team on just adding that. So it's just really clear and succinct. So since the last read.
So what David Fine was saying just a second ago, if the history department wants to make a political statement, their chair signs off or whatever, and they include in that statement that those views are not MSU's views, they would still be allowed to make that political statement
Right.
under the policy?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, maybe I just missed that, sorry. Okay, cool, good to know.
Yeah, because that's the difference too with the policy, the way it's structured. So the policy that you've been present for is for the official university departmental accounts. We do speak on student orgs in just a limited capacity, just because we do collaborate and there's some crossover. However, this governing policy is for the departmental pages. So the disclaimer, views on my own, is that new addition, and that's where it clears that opinion from representing the university.
So similarly, like, I do know, like, there are certain podcasts like on campus, whether that be Met Media, History Department, that sometimes host students into those podcasts. Would a student then would have to do that disclaimer before they make their own comments regarding like any politics or any policies such as that?
It does not apply to personal social media accounts or activity unless you are implying endorsement or that you're speaking on behalf of the university. We actually added a clause in there a couple of iterations ago that speaks to freedom of the press on campus to make sure that it did not in any way interfere specifically with Met Media.
Thank you. So basically, just to summarize, you shouldn't start statements on your department or just being like, MSU believes blank, like.
Yeah,
But
MSU Denver endorses X candidates.
But other than that, it pretty much is, like for the podcast, it's like that implied it's your personal view.
Right, and I would say one caveat to the policy that you will hear about if you watch Cabinet, and I encourage you guys to do that, is we are adding in a recommendation or an expectation that employees who disclose a professional affiliation with the university add a views or their own disclaimer in their account somewhere, right? Just to make sure it's clear. So that would be an example if Stephen has in his account that his role in his LinkedIn account, and then he starts, speaking on behalf of activities that are happening or his personal thoughts, right? That disclaimer is just another layer to make sure that his speech, is protected.
On the student org disclaimer, specifically the one that's like quoted, I guess is that in the policy or is that in the handbook?
That is in the handbook.
That's not you guys. Okay, I'll talk to them later. I am curious if there is a disclaimer that's required in any account, whether it's however a disclaimer might be required in the policy. If that disclaimer needs to be long, but you only have a short amount of space in your bio, depending on what platform you're on, how do you balance that? And then my second side of things is on the personal side of things, what is the balance of disclosing their affiliation as an employee versus just having somewhere, 3 years ago in your Instagram, a photo of you, accepting your job application or whatever. Is that where's the balance there on ensuring that there's not accidental non-compliance with that personal side?
I think that's tough, right? And that's where I would just recommend that people include the disclaimer in case you did once say something about, which by the way, something we were talking about and I've been really reflecting on is I want to make sure we don't disincentivize. We want you to talk about MSU Denver. We want faculty to share their expertise in their spaces, right? So I'm also really taking the lens of how do we make sure we're not disincentivizing that engagement with our brand and with our academic journey and experiences. So it's in no way intended to do that. Exactly those nuances aren't necessarily outlined in the policy. And if we were to do that, I think we would get too terribly prescriptive and it would just be untenable. What are your thoughts on
I
that?
agree. I mean, so Scott, your point is somewhere, however many years ago, you had some kind of affiliation with MSU Denver, people dig deep into your profile. So whereas maybe you're not affiliated with MSU Denver now, the question is, when do you make a disclaimer on that, right?
I mean, like on Facebook, there's dedicated space. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, more specifically with that, That's where, for example, that disclaimer would fit into your LinkedIn bio, or Facebook where those character counts aren't as limited. Instagram would be a good example of where, yeah, you really do have a finite space for your bio and things like that. So even with that, we recommend that you have that in your bio or on your profile in some capacity. And let's say Instagram, cool, you couldn't fit in your bio and you're going to post something that might kind of toe the line. But that's where that disclaimer could be in your, in your caption, for instance. So like, cool, your views expressed, if you feel, then these views are my own. Boom. That's like how you would address it there. And with your profile, it's just putting that best foot or that best effort to make sure that it's just that, just the extra layer to protect your freedom of expression.
I think, I don't do Instagram or whatever, but I think people were thinking about LinkedIn, and they were thinking about this, disclaimer, right? And so I don't know where you put it on Instagram. I don't even know if people pay attention to where people work. They post stuff on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. But I think if there's, the basic thought is if there's a chance that people would assume, oh, this guy's at MSU Denver, and so what this guy says about X must be attributed to MSU Denver, that's when you want a disclaimer. Yeah.
My best example of what I think this policy is sort of meant to, especially for Instagram, is Will Simpkins' Instagram. It's like there's just a photo of MSU Denver in the background of his photo, and then the first line of bio is vice president for and then it's very
do the disclaimer.
That's I will ask, would he need to if he's not speaking at all politically? If every post he makes is just about him, his role in it. When is the policy triggered? Is every employee, no matter what, needs to put this in there if it has on there?
That's a really
or
good
it's
question.
if they're speaking politically, and then how is politically defined?
That's a good question.
It states if you're disclosing your affiliation, you are expected to, make a reasonable effort to make it clear that these views are your own, right? And so there certainly is some gray areas there.
Whether it's political.
But yeah, what exact
What he did
speech
that
would be
day.
problematic? That's where I tag him in. So because that is difficult, right?
Yeah,
He's
the-
teaching a class, by the way, on
And some of you, I won't
or in
say
it.
who it is, but her initials are Emma Fox are in there.
That's great. But talking all about a lot of this, which I think we are lucky to have David here, by the way. You guys don't know, longtime city attorney and expert in this free speech space.
So, I mean, these disclaimers, the disclaimers don't prevent you from saying anything. They just basically make clear that you're not speaking on behalf of the university. So that's the extent there is any limitation. It's not a limitation on your speech, it's basically saying, because the employee speech is a whole different analysis of law that we don't need to get into. The theory is, it's like when an department, it's the same thing with the department, during the protests, some departments are saying X, Y, and Z about their opinion about the protest, which is fine. To the extent anyone pays attention to what any of us say on social media, including departments, I mean, I think we flatter ourselves that people would pay attention to us that much, but the point is, okay, Sky's on TSAC, and so Sky says something that must mean Sky speaking on behalf of MSU Denver. Basically, make it clear ahead of time that not.
I'm hearing your question as at what point does that messaging that you have on your social media become problematic?
Yeah.
Is that it? And I think I would say that's complicated.
I'm gonna look at the poll. I haven't seen the latest draft. I'm gonna look at that to see if that's clear enough. That's a good question. Maria?
Sort of turning back on the Sky point, is that also something that whoever the student trustee should keep in mind as well of that disclaimer when they're social?
I would say, yeah. I mean, you are a student trustee. And so, yeah, I mean, I just sort of keep that in your mind when you're speaking about anything related to the school. You're also a trustee, so keep it in mind. Are you speaking as a trustee? Are you speaking as Maria Garcia? Are you speaking as a student at MSU Denver? Yeah. And, I don't know how often, like Will, I guess, does a lot of social media. So every time you post something, he doesn't want to do that disclaimer. But I don't know how often you guys, post something political it's political in your mind. That would be the time to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, because for example, I am a counselor here, but I'm not an employee because we are employees.
But I do post a lot of things regarding like immigration. Some of them aren't nice to them. But I do have a lot of things that I post on that with that, but I have to.
Which platform, which?
Mine I do through Facebook and Instagram. And I just really, it's more reposting on my story or reposting it on for reels. Would that count? Would I have to put a disclaimer for my bio if I do those kinds of things? Because I don't necessarily see people.
What does your bio say about your affiliation with MSU Denver?
Nothing. It just has an affiliation with. Yeah, it just doesn't have anything for.
These are great questions, by the way. Thank you for prepping us for cabinet. One thing we did was we added a definition of employee, and this disclaimer expectation is in the policy in its current form, right? Is exclusive to employees, and that definition of employees does include part-time, affiliate faculty, student employees. But you guys are making me think, I didn't think, well, does this apply to, students working in certain roles where maybe they're not technically employed?
And I guess like further expanding on that, with your direct example too, since you don't, especially on those profiles, you don't have direct time or it's not easy to assess that you're a representative of MSU Denver. So once again, at the high level, your freedom of speech is protected. However, there's not like an easy way to tie that in. So I would say under that unique scenario, you wouldn't need to put the views or my own disclaimer there.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not sure people would get that. Oh, he's definitely speaking, but on behalf of MSU Denver.
And
Situation.
it wouldn't, the way we drafted it most recently, it would not include the students or in any way or student leadership necessarily. So.
I'm just thinking of the 5,000 plus employees that are once this policy passes, that are all now bound by it because of the policy of who may already have in their bio that they are an MSU, XYZ. How are we going to notify people of it? Is it going to be part of workday training? And then I think I have a few more questions and we're out of time.
Yeah.
Could me and Patrick get a meeting with you ahead of cabinet to talk more?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll email you.
Okay.
Yeah,
That sounds good. These are great. Really, we appreciate these are really great questions and fantastic input.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and saying hi.
For sure. Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, it is 5:31. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Is there an opposition?